listening to Community Forum on KCCC 930 AM, sponsored by Eddy County, honoring God, country, and family, thriving with industry since 1889. Thank you for listening to Community Forum. My name is Johnny Chandler. I'm the owner of KCCC 930 AM, the host of Community Forum. With me today, co-hosting, is Hattie Quinn.
Hello.
Hello, Hattie. She's a broadcast media program assistant here at Southeast New Mexico College, works very closely with KCCC. And for a multitude of times now, we have the Executive Director of the United Way of Eddy County, Kyle Marksteiner. Kyle, how are you doing?
I like multitude of times. That's great.
Okay, yeah, I mean, we're getting there now.
Fair, yeah.
Yeah, you've been on quite a few times. You're always invited to. You can come on anytime.
No, I realize I'm closing on my 2-year anniversary with the United Way, so it's been great.
Yeah, that has been 2 years already, huh?
Almost.
He made some really smart decisions as Executive Director of United Way. One of them being his dancing choices.
I thought I knew where you were headed there.
Yeah, I was like, one of those being his dancing choices was dancing with the Eddy County Stars.
Yeah, I loved that. That was so much fun.
Yeah, it was a lot. No, I know it stinks when you're trying to work on an audit or a budget, and you're like, I'd really like to be planning a dance competition. That was way more fun. Yeah. So this stuff isn't as cool.
Dancing competition or Excel spreadsheets.
Yeah, you can do both.
Yeah, at the same time.
The best of us can do both.
Chances are. Yeah. So, Kyle, we're here to talk about the Day of Caring, which is on September 18th. We're going to get to that. But since we brought up Dancing with the Eddy County Stars, and we haven't really done anything on the radio since that event in April,
right? You
want to just give us a little rundown about what you felt, how it went?
I mean, we had 8 competitors, including yourself. It was primarily a fundraiser, but then also a competition. You guys went up on the stage despite the world's worst death storm. We had a great audience there, and a lot of fun. When the dust cleared, no pun intended, we actually had a tie, and it was funny because the guy we brought to promote it said, "Oh man, that was the first tie we've ever had. I was supposed to tell you not to do a tie." And I'm like, "No, it's cool.
We're all happy with the tie.
We're good." So because we had 3 categories. We had a judges vote, an audience vote, and then a kind of a fundraising score. And the person who actually got last in the judges' vote had the highest fundraising score and then did really well in the audience vote. And that was Frankie Davis.
Yeah.
And then
awesome.
he finished in a perfect tie with Caleb Cunningham, who had the highest audience vote and then also did quite well in all 3 categories. And so
Caleb was great.
I was absolutely fine with a tie.
I thought Frankie Davis, I thought he danced pretty well. I think the judges maybe treated him a little unfairly.
Yeah, I don't know.
It was cute routine.
Yeah, I mean, it's you're going for the comedy, you're going for the showmanship, the charisma more so. You're not, the mechanicals of how good your splits was, or whatever.
Right.
So, who cares?
That's what this guy brought right here was the showmanship on that ice cream.
Yeah.
Like, I loved it. You were selling it.
Yeah, but the poor guy, you got washed out so much on that camera on the video.
I saw that. Yeah,
it was just like something about the angle and the clothes you were wearing.
I was like, I know I'm a pretty white person, but I was like, you get washed out.
No, I don't think you came to the thing where we showed the video.
Yeah, I did. I finally saw it. I was late, but I finally saw it.
I was waiting for the joke because I'm like, well, we had one guy and he was really white.
And here's how he showed up on camera.
Yeah,
which is why he's a radio guy.
Yeah, exactly. But no, it was a lot of fun. We do want to do it again next year. We do want to have it at the Civic Center next year. I had so many people following me in the parking lot that day saying, "Oh, you need to put my wife out there," and so we have a very long list of potentials. And I think in a month
already
or so,
potential dancers already. Yeah, because it was. I mean, did you have to struggle to find dancers for this first one?
There was a little bit of struggle. In particular, we wanted to get some artesias. We wound up having Allison, who was just phenomenal.
She was so good.
No, I mean, she was very good at the dance. She brought her enthusiasm for the overall event. We've kind of become friends. We can keep in touch now. And so I think it was I think, there were some struggles because we wanted it, we wanted 4 men, 4 women. We wanted different parts of Eddy County represented. So we had some variables we wanted. And I think there wasn't a struggle to find dancers so much as there was a struggle to try to have a good mix. And I mean, above all, it is a fundraiser, right? I mean, that was what Frankie was so good at. Frankie, 2 months later, Frankie still he would come in with wads of $100 bills that somebody gave him as a sponsor for it, and I loved it because I'm a total Luddite. And everybody, we need to have QR codes, blah, blah, blah. We need to have Square terminals. Well, most of the money Frankie gave us was fistfuls of cash. And that made me so happy, in addition to it being a good fundraiser. So.
That's excellent.
Yeah, that is excellent. And then Frankie and Caleb both. So congratulations to both of them.
They did, and we went ahead and ordered a second trophy.
Right,
and the 2 trophies are actually both on display in locations in Carlsbad right now.
All right.
I love that.
Right. Excellent. So we're not going to tell you where. You have to go visit everywhere.
Well, do you want me to say where? I can.
No, I mean, that's up to you. But I
Are
think
they in public places?
I think it's like it's a nice little scavenger hunt now.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
we
Go
will
visit
do
some
that.
local businesses and check out some local stuff.
I
And figure out
will.
where you can
I
find where the
will give
trophies
you
are.
a $5 gift card to H2O if you can tell me where both trophies are.
Okay,
First person to contact me at the United Way office.
And I'll mention it on Midweek Matters.
Okay, you got it. First person to contact Kyle Marksteiner were the 2 Dancing with Eddie.
Now, family members of competitors are not.
Okay.
Are,
Now we
yeah,
get
yeah,
the
'cause they
caveats.
know.
You have to be somebody that doesn't know.
Exactly. This has to be
how about that?
This has to be a brand new discovery for you. And
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you, was this a brand new discovery for you?
Right. Frankie's daughter comes in. That doesn't count.
Yeah. Sorry, Kat.
Yeah.
You're not allowed to play.
Yeah, that's very true. Any other questions for him? You were at the event, Patty. Thank you very much for showing up
I
and
loved
supporting.
the event. It was so great. I was trying to figure out how to get my husband to have to do it because that would be amazing. He works in the public defender's office.
No, that would be a cool one.
I think that would be cool. He's not a trained dancer in any way, which makes it super fun.
Which I found that I wouldn't even be concerned about that. The dancers that they brought in were real comforting. They made it. They made it feel really great.
I mean, they made you feel old because they were all very young people.
Well, yeah, that's true.
but they were so friendly and nice to work with. The 4 young men and women who came in were just phenomenal.
Yeah,
they were
agreed.
great.
Agreed. Day of Caring, Kyle. Is this something we do every year?
It's the 8th year. Like a lot of things in life, there was kind of a COVID and post-COVID pause. Sure. And I've got a little reason why I love Day of Caring. We do campaign for United Way, and some of the elementary schools will do things like nickel drives and quarter drives. And so I'll drive up there, and some second grade class will hand me a bag of quarters. And, and they tell these kids, hey, you want to help the community, donate to United Way. They're going to help people. Well, so I get back to my office. We were talking before we started about balancing budget, and we have all kinds of fun stuff like, my HVAC needs a new filter. Right. Well, I think of the spirit of what those kids were told when they put those quarters in the jar, and I hate spending donated money on things around the office. And I think there's a lot of guilt nonprofits do. I need this tree removed. Oh my gosh, here's how much I spend. Does that mean I don't get to spend that on the services I want to provide? Right. And so many, I think, good nonprofits feel very guilty, and you don't want, you spend your whole time not wanting to spend on that stuff. Well, Day of Caring, to kind of really summarize, is we bring all these teams from oil fields in, and they do all that stuff. And so they knock it out for you. They paint the walls. They change. We got a new toilet last year. We got a little bit of sponsor money to kind of pay for the equipment, but then all the labor is donated, is provided. And so I love it. I mean, it's not a big fundraiser. It's not a budgetary item. It's an item where I think we're going to have about 300 volunteers this year, and they're going to go out to 18 different sites around Eddy County and fix stuff, pull weeds, paint things, do all that stuff, and just let those organizations focus on what they're getting money to do. And so I think that's perfect.
How were the 18 locations decided?
We sent something out. There's a lot of kind of matchmaking. We sent something out to, I've got this big nonprofit list. Hey guys, do you want to do day caring this year? Get any good projects? We sent stuff out to companies. We have some sponsorship funding. Newborn's a big sponsor. P&R Enterprise is a sponsor. We got some food sponsors. Carlsbad Medical Center, Artesia General, both sponsors. Eddy County is a partner. ConocoPhillips is helping. So we sent this big list out. Hey, do you got something you want to do? Then we send something out to companies, and then we do a lot of matchmaking. Hey, this company needs about 5 to 8 people to paint for 3 hours. Do you think you got somebody? This year, we have the city of Carlsbad and the city of Artesia are both also recipients of projects.
Oh, okay, great.
City of Carlsbad is going to go out to 6 Mile Dam, and they're going to add another disc golf course out there, which I think is awesome. And then the city of Artesia's got some painting along some of their park areas. So, and then that's the other thing I really like is, we're coming off of a football rivalry week. United Ways, kind of began consolidating about 20 years ago.
Right, they went from individual cities to regional organizations.
Yeah, and it's, there's certain industries that do that for various reasons, and I could go on for hours. But that began happening across the country except for in one place. Eddy County was the last place in the United States of America where we consolidated because
the whole country.
The whole country.
All right.
We are very independent, stubborn people, and I dig that about us, and that's why I'm here. I'm in the right place. And so in about 2019, the South Eddy County kind of merged into becoming United Way of Eddy County. And but there's still a little, hey, you guys have your offices down in Carlsbad. Are you really? And so we spent a lot of time, look, this is a big county. My job is to serve every single person within the perimeters of that county. Right. And the football rivalry is one thing, but we're talking about feeding people or providing shelter and things like that. I don't care. And I really don't. This is my mission, and this is where we go. So Day of Caring, we've got local companies set up where we're going to do kind of a simulcast at both locations. So we're going to have, like a New Year's Eve thing. We're going to have some elected officials at both locations, and then we're going to do a countdown. And then at the same point, everybody's going to kind of fan out to their projects. This year we have 5 up in Artesia, and the other 13 are down in Carlsbad.
Okay.
So,
wow, excellent.
Yeah, and there's some neat projects. I mean, Haven of Hope up in Artesia, Carlsbad Transitional Housing and Homeless Shelter. CASA's got projects in both parts of the county, a battered family shelter. It's a lot of painting, but it's not just painting. There's some neat other little projects. There's even one where they're just having people come in and make cards for some folks affiliated with their organization who aren't feeling very well. So, I said before, you get the big oil field guys coming in, pulling out tree stumps and stuff, and that's a part of it, but not everybody can do that sort of thing. And so we tried to have some other projects for people with different skill sets and different interests too.
That's fabulous.
So this is your second Day of
This
Caring.
is my second Day of Caring, yeah.
And so you want to tell us a little bit about how your first one went, then if there's any changes or improvements you've made for this year?
First one went great. We had about 200 volunteers. We had 11 projects. This year we're up to 18, probably about 300 volunteers.
Okay, so that's good.
What I liked again is we added because we added the city of Carlsbad and Artesia as projects. Some years historically before my time, Day of Caring, instead of going around and doing everything, would take one big project. You're probably familiar with the playground on the Pecos.
Yep.
There was a year that needed a major facelift. And so all 200 whatever volunteers went out and worked on that year. And so we kind of are trying to a little bit of both. We do have the Artesia and the Carlsbad projects, but we also are working at the nonprofit. So I think this year's bigger. We have more teams, more participants. It's almost a situation where we're trying to add some more projects as we have so many volunteers. I think what we're going to do is add a couple community cleanups,
right.
And because that's a good, easy one to kind of add with a week or two notice. I'll get with Mary Garwood and we'll do some cleanups on top of everything. But again, I love it. There's no egos. There's no, it's not, oh, my company has more people than yours. We're all out there working together. And again, it's not even, this isn't a United Way. The Dancing with the Stars, that was a fundraiser, right? We go out and do that so we can do other stuff.
Yeah.
Day of Caring, we'll be lucky if we break even on this because this is a focus on let's get out and project. All of the nonprofits, we reimburse them for things like paint and things like that.
Yeah,
now,
sure.
if there's a bigger expense, then they might have to pay for it. And if there's something that they're asking one of the companies to bring, like a power wash, we ask them to kind of negotiate that and just let us know.
Yeah.
But in most cases, they save the receipts for that day. They give them to us, and we reimburse them through sponsorship money. So.
Right, so it's really like a service day. It's called Day of Caring, but it's not about raising funds. It's about providing the skill set that you have to try to help.
Yeah, we joked that we were going to have a Day of Karen where everybody is. But no, it's I love it. I think it really is a perfect event for nonprofits. And to be honest, too, it's a great photography event. All these companies get pictures of their folks painting and pulling weeds and stuff. So it's, yes, the check passing photos are wonderful, but when you're doing those corporate newsletters and stuff,
you need those.
You got pictures of people doing a lot of neat stuff. So it's kind of our photography event of the year as well. So.
Right, agreed. So you were talking about Artesia and Carlsbad and the joining of the last county to join United Way organizations. But that's got me thinking about how large Eddy County is, right? And then how many services your organization provides. And it's got me thinking about, are there any challenges logistically with what you all do relationship to how large and rural the county is?
I mean, like you said, I think the square miles are close to Massachusetts. I don't remember exactly, but it's comparable. And so, when you have Southeast New Mexico Community Action Corporation, who does the Meals on Wheels, I'm guessing about 500 seniors a day across Eddy County. So think about that, like what you just described, and that includes Artesia, that includes Loving, that includes Carlsbad. So you are delivering lunch to 500 people across this county the size of Massachusetts 5 days a week. And so, yes, absolutely. There was some interesting statistic stuff I looked at recently. It's the ALICE program. You were in on that.
Yeah.
I dove into some of the ALICE data, and this is a little bit different subject, but if you're a senior in Eddy County, there's some additional expenses, travel, medical. You have to drive to Lubbock for appointments and things like that. And so when you look at sort of the face of people in our county who are combating some issues with income, it's often 65 and older, and that's even compared to other counties nearby. It's compared to other places. And it makes sense. We're remote, and then we do have a lot of high-paying jobs here, so folks on Social Security are sort of having trouble competing with that. And so I think, some of the challenges, I think, with Eddy County related to nonprofits are related to making sure that we're taking care of our seniors. A lot of our food distribution, probably about half the people at our food distribution are seniors in many cases. And so making sure that they're getting their meals, and then you have mobility issues. Carlsbad is very fortunate to have municipal transit, which is a really good, affordable way for folks to get to doctor appointments and things like that. Artesia General Hospital is actually now picking people up for appointments related to them across the county. And so that's another nice service. But yeah, definitely the transportation. I love some of the times I participate in like panel discussions across the country, and like with United Way and other nonprofits, they're like, all right, guys, we've got this cool idea where we're going to use Uber and Lyft drivers to take care of certain things, and I'll raise my hand, and Mr. Marksteiner, well, we got one guy, and sometimes he's there. And then what I love is, like, I think I'm a little bit more of a jerk than a lot of nonprofit people, because then all of a sudden, like, all the other rural folks will chime in, like, yeah, we don't have that either. We don't have that either. And so there is this tendency of people in urban areas to just sort of forget about the problems that are exclusive to rural. And then I like to use the word remote, too, because you can be rural, you can be a suburb, 5 miles outside of Dallas, and have almost all of the benefits of being in an urban area. And so sometimes we use the word rural, I think, incorrectly. I think remote might be a little bit better. Carlsbad's very remote. A lot of the challenges we face are more due to remoteness. Another good example, we don't have a Salvation Army in Eddy County. We don't have a Red Cross in Eddy County. There's an assumption that those services that are provided exist, and they don't.
Right.
A good example, your house burns down in a place with Red Cross. Red Cross gets out there and gets you a card to get you a motel room for a couple nights. Burns down here, Red Cross tries to come down as soon as they can, but sometimes it takes a couple of days. Thanks to Mayor Lopez and some sponsors, we were able to kind of provide a sort of a gap program to kind of get people a first couple nights. But, that's one of my pitches when I'm trying to ask people to support United Way is, in some cases, we're having to fill in for other nonprofits that don't exist here. And so just letting people know that remoteness is presenting its own challenges to all of the nonprofits that are here.
There is a real assumption that all of those exist everywhere in every county across the country.
Correct.
Right. Salvation Army, Red Cross. I mean, there's just an assumption that those services are there for you.
Correct. And we don't have those here. So
right. So you're like 3 services in one, and on top of that.
I mean, and it's hard. I mean, because I've kind of called Salvation Army do you have outposts? Are we on your turf if we're not here?
Do you need an office in the corner?
I mean, is there something we can do to kind of serve as a proxy for that? And then in the Red Cross situation, we're working on that. We've got some ideas working with Eddy County Office of Emergency Management, where we can maybe deputize a kind of a cadre of volunteers here to be good, experienced volunteers. And what that would mean is, if we set up a shelter here, you've got some people who know the drill. They know where the cots are. They know how to set up the cots. They know where the hygiene cuts are. They know how to deal with situations where people might be under duress or maybe saying some things that, and having some trained volunteers to do that, I think would be something that I would love to see grow. And so, and we would help with that, but I think that would more come from the first responders themselves. They've got this list of 20 people. And then, whether it's an emergency in Eddy County or it's a situation like we've had with floods and fires in Rios and Roswell, where people are coming down here, we have a group of people who kind of know what they need to do, instead of everybody, you have lots of those weird situations where people people load their prom dress up in their pickup truck and they drive it to Ruidoso and because they want to donate some clothes and help.
Right.
You've got this wonderful human emotion where there's a tragedy and people want to help, but finding some guidance to that, finding some good ways to direct that into people that it's a healthy. We're not overlapping. We're not all. 5 of us are doing the same thing and nobody's doing the thing over here.
Yeah, I've got a half a gallon of milk in the fridge. Maybe they want it.
No, and it's fascinating. I mean, look at the tragedy in Kerrville. Like there were so many people who wanted to help, but maybe didn't exactly know where or how to help. I mean, it's taking that wonderful aspect of humanity and trying to direct it a little better.
Right.
So right now, I'm picking up that we don't really have an organized response for emergencies.
There is through the Office of Emergency Management and the county itself. So you have those professional employees. What I noticed, because I went and helped staff the shelter here, it didn't have many people, but those employees come out and they sit there all night. And you're also asking them to help with other facets of their job at the same time. And so I think the people we pay to do that are very good at doing that, but I think getting kind of an auxiliary of people who could take on some facets of that obligation would be the next way to go.
That's a great idea. When I lived in Cambridge, Massachusetts, they have one of the best city emergency response programs in the nation. And they had a team of civilians, for lack of a better word, from across the city in various industries or whatever, who participate in, is it CERT maybe? It's a team of people.
Right, exactly. It's a CERT team. That's
respond.
what we're...
So do we have a CERT team?
We don't have a volunteer CERT team. That's really what our goal is. With or without the United Way, I think it's in development. I think there's a recognition that that's a direction we need to go. What I would like our role to be, and I've applied for some grants on it, to kind of serve as the auxiliary. We feed the lunch, we provide the backpacks, we maintain kind of a backup volunteer list, and things like that. So I think having a nonprofit sort of tapped into that, because we're used to doing nonprofit stuff, would be good. But there are good talks to develop a CERT team, and I think it's very important.
Excellent. And if somebody wanted to talk to people about the CERT team, would they reach out to someone at the fire department or the city?
Yeah, they can contact me, and right now, and I'd probably develop kind of almost a waiting list type thing. So when we are able to get those classes going, we'd make sure to contact them. But, we have like police academy trainings and things like that, but those are more very general. Hey, we want you to know what this experience is like. We want you to know what's going on in the community. I think the CERT team training would be more specifically focused on, look, something bad happened. Here's how you can not get in the way. Here's how you can help in a way that where the first responders can do their jobs, but they can trust you guys to do take a little bit off of their plate. So.
Do a little triage, help people who
can
walk away.
I mean, I'm going to let somebody else do the tough stuff, right? But if me showing up with a plate of enchiladas and some cold water and then going and getting some blankets and bringing them to the right spot, take that off of somebody else's plate, then I feel like I'm helping. So
I love that. One of the things I noticed on your last interview in August of 2024 is you also do a lot of just day-to-day stuff, help people with their bills, their electric bills or their water bills. And you had also mentioned homelessness as a big problem.
Absolutely, and it still is, yes.
I'm wondering if you've made any steps in the last year toward that with partners or
so let's start with the bills, because I think that's a very interesting thing. We have seen an increase in our 2-in-1 assistance, and by that I usually mean paying electric bills and water bills. We also sometimes direct to other people. That's gone up. What we've noticed is there's some cases where some seniors in particular, they get things where they don't have to pay it for a while due to a medical thing. And, hey, I've got 2 years where I don't pay it. Well, that adds up. And it goes up and up and up. And so they'll come to us all of a sudden, and it's not, I owe $200 in electric bill, it's I owe $8,000 in electric bill. Well, that's beyond our capacity, and they're terrified. I think, to be honest, that issue is going to be beyond the capacity of almost any nonprofit to address. What I'd like to look into is there's some sort of indigent care or Medicare, Medicaid thing where you can tap into some of those other services. Every year the county writes off certain hospital expenses. and pays the medical community to say, look, we're trying to help a little bit. At some point, we're going to need to look at ways we can just sort of write off some of those $8,000 electric bills, because the United Way can't afford to fix that, and I don't, so that's one direction I'd like to do. Is I'd like to get some stakeholders on that, including elected officials, and look at different options for sort of balancing that. Same thing with the homelessness. No, we haven't come to a solution on it. We've continued to work with Carlsbad Transitional Housing and Homeless Shelter. We continue to work with a Community of Hope. We're very fortunate, actually, for a town the size of Carlsbad to have any shelter whatsoever, let alone two. And so in some ways we're good, but of course, as we go around our life, we see plenty of folks who obviously don't have shelter, and it's heartbreaking. And the broader discussion on mental health issues and addiction issues and shelter issues. I can think of a person right now. James Shipp, who works for Transitional Housing, is the best person I've ever met in my life. He develops a deep personal connection with every single person that he meets out in the streets and works with them. Some of them don't want to come in. In some cases, hey, would you like to come in and at least take a shower? Would you like to come in and stay the night? No, I'm fine. Well, these are adults. There's rules in terms of voluntary and involuntary commitment. And so, I would love to be able to sit here in this little interview and tell you, hey, here's what we need to do, but I can't give you a soundbite to fix this issue, other than to say that it's still an issue. It's heartbreaking. I don't know. Do I have time to tell one little story? It takes a little bit of time, but January of 2025, I met a woman named Kim Bannister, and we've kind of pieced together Kim's life. She grew up in New Jersey with her mother. When I met her, she was in her early 60s. Kim had severe bipolar disorder, and for a lot of Kim's life, that wasn't that big of an issue, but her mom passed away. And so Kim, after she lost her mom, there was not really a system or place for Kim. And so for 17 years, she was a transient person. She wandered the country. She woke up in January of 2025 at a homeless shelter in Albuquerque and decided she was cold. And she got on a bus and headed down here. She actually thought she was going to Las Cruces. I think there was some confusion. And she got off. It was the coldest week of the year, very, very freezing. And she wasn't able to find a shelter here. So she wound up spending several nights in the bushes in the Wendy's parking lot. Had a blanket in there. She injured her hip at some point, too. She came by and asked us for help. It was clearly beyond our capacity in many ways, but we were able to get her some transit rides to the medical center. We actually, outside of the scope of the United Way, were able to get her some food and a couple nights motel room, just kind of private donation thing. Right. She came back the next day with this big stack of medical paper because she'd been to she went through all the stuff, but she didn't know how to interpret. Well, I don't really know how to interpret a lot of that stuff either. And so we contacted Lifehouse, and Lifehouse was going to come get her. They have a special program for some situations like that. But it took several hours, and so Kim and I sat there in my office, and I wanted to entertain her, so we wound up watching YouTube videos. She was a big fan of 80s YouTube rock videos, and so Kids in America was her favorite. So we watched those. We had a good time. We laughed and everything. And Lifehouse came and got her and processed her. And they had set up where the following week they had worked out, through some systems to get her to that shelter in Las Cruces. So she was going to go on Monday, but it was super cold again. We put her a couple more nights in the motel room. She came by and left me a note that I have laminated next to my desk. And so Monday morning they were supposed to take her to Las Cruces. Well, at 8:30 in the morning, I got a call from the Office of the Medical Investigator. Kim had I think it was an aortic aneurysm. Experienced it at the motel room. She was taken to the hospital. She passed away there. In her purse, they found my phone number. And so the OMI was calling, who is this woman? What's going on? Et cetera. And so, you pick yourself apart. Should I have not given her a pizza? Should I have, you're so hard on yourself. Because you're heartbroken. Like, I tried so hard to help this woman. What could we have done differently to help Kim? I mean, it was so heartbreaking. And then, should I feel guilty? Should I, where did the system fail here? A part of you thinks, okay, in this 17 years she wandered around, that final week she felt loved, she felt warm, she was fed. So maybe am I okay with that? But then you kind of hit a point where, stop making this about what you're getting out of it. It's not an episode of the Kyle Show where Kim is that episode. Kim is Kim. She's a human being. She's the soul. She's the star of the show. And there's millions more people like her. And so that's kind of what my thoughts are on that. I think the other neat sidebar to that is, while all this was going on, we had an intern, a young woman. Her name is Hanley. She's a senior now at the Early College High School. Hanley was a witness to us watching the YouTube videos and joking around and stuff. After Kim passed away, she made a little vase, and we went out to the Wendy's parking lot. We had a little ceremony because we wanted to humanize who Kim was as a person. Hanley's internship with us came to an end, and I talked to her at the end, kind of an exit interview, and she told me that, she, because of that experience and other similar ones, she really realized that she wanted to devote her life to helping people and to making a difference and to thinking about people. And so I can't speak for Kim, but I think if I were in her experience, to know that my final act as a human being would be to inspire this young woman to kind of want to change how she was going through life. I find comfort in that a lot. And so I know that that's not a clinical answer to your question, but I guess I do.
I didn't expect a solution, honestly.
No, but I do. I guess I do want to say that I think the solution is compassion. The solution is to never forget for a moment that these are individuals, that these are human beings. And that's the starting. That's step one. Now let's talk about step two.
Right. Well, thank you very much. That's a great story. Probably a good place for us to end, considering we're out of time.
Sure.
So the timing works out really well. Yeah, and then Hattie over here.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Cry. That was right. I do think that the love that she was able to experience that last week, there was a blessing there. You know what I mean? You played an important role, towards the end of her life, not knowing that was the case. So I think there's some real sincerity, some real hardship in that story, right? I think that you should feel pretty, as best you can, you should feel pretty good about what you were able to do at the end, which I think you self-identified as well in that story. Yeah. But, so thank you for everything that you've been doing. Of course, I think you've been doing an amazing job as Executive Director of the United Way of Eddy County. It's been a blow up of an organization, really, with what I'd say. So go ahead and tag out with the 8th Annual Day of Caring.
Yeah, once again, 8th Annual Day of Caring. We've got probably about 300 volunteers, 17 projects. So September 18th, if you see a lot of cool stuff going on around Eddy County, that's what it is, and we appreciate you guys for having us today.
All right, how can people help the United Way?
Participate in our food distributions, contact us about campaigns. We hope to come up to the college at some point and do a campaign here, and then spread the word. Let people know if there's somebody who needs a 211 call, if there's somebody who's got some questions or not sure who to go to give us a call. We've got a fantastic 211 coordinator, and she's a great starting point.
All right. Kyle Marksteiner, Executive Director of United Way of Eddy County, talking about Day of Caring, and Hattie Quinn, co-host. Thank you very much for coming on.
Thank you, guys.
You're listening to Community Forum on KCCC 930 AM, sponsored by Eddy County, honoring God, country, and family, thriving with industry since 1889.